The local stories you care about.
WLBB, Carrollton, News Talk, 1330, FM 106.3.
Okay, let me be sure I get this going. All right, let's try that again. Good morning. Welcome to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Graddick, your host, who cannot see the numbers on the knob, so, that's how that goes. And first, there were 5, and now there are only 2. That's right. We're talking about the candidates for the Haralson County Sheriff's race. We're broadcasting this morning on WLBB, FM 106.3, 1330 AM. And WKNG, FM 93.7 and AM 1060. We're honored to have in studio Brian Finley, candidate for sheriff. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay. Let's start off. We're kind of getting in a routine when we have a candidate. Of course, we're talking about probably one of the longest political races in the history of America when we talk about the sheriff's race in Haralson County. And it's down to you, and the runoff is August 11th, you and an opponent. And I think early voting starts Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
And so let's tell us a little something about Brian Finley and a little bit about your experience in law enforcement.
A little bit about me personally is I was born and raised in Tallapoosa. My wife is Jamie. Together we have 5 children. Professionally, I started my law enforcement career back in 2000 working part-time for Sheriff. At the time, it was Sheriff Ronnie Kimball at a jail. And at U.S. Ken, when I left there in 2001 and come to work for Sheriff Langley in our old jail, then transitioned over to the new jail. Graduated mandate school in 2002, worked about a year and a half out Mountain Zion Police Department. Sheriff Langley, or the Carroll County, called me, offered me a job at the sheriff's office, and I've been there ever since. Started out on night shift patrol, did that for a while, and then later on transitioned as a canine handler to our interstate crime unit. From there, I got detached to, it was ICE at the time. They later changed their name to Department of Homeland Security Investigations. We targeted the cartels operating in and out of the metro Atlanta area. I left there, come back to the sheriff's office as a property crimes investigator, done that and persons crime, and currently I'm a sergeant over our court services division, which handles the securing the courthouse, civil process, warrants, transports.
Okay. For those who are listening, if you have any questions, you can post them to our Facebook page, and I'll look at them at the break and hopefully get some of those back to Brian. I'd like to set up our beginning discussion this morning with just a quick answer to this one question. Then I'd like to read from your website. Would you say there's a drug epidemic in Haralson County?
There's a drug epidemic in Haralson County and pretty much the whole country.
Well, with that said, let me read the first paragraph from your strategic plan of your website, which is brianfinleyforsheriff.com, and it reads like this. To meet my administration's overarching goal of bringing a cultural and mindset change to our county, along with improving customer satisfaction with you, the citizens being the customer, I believe first and foremost in holding people accountable. Accountability expectations apply to deputies, jailers, inmates, and the citizens of Haralson County. My campaign centers on the statement of progress without change is impossible. And with change comes resistance. First paragraph, quote unquote. Tell us really what do you mean by that? What kind of change are you proposing here?
If you read throughout the entire plan, it talks about our drug education, as far as accountability courts. I believe a lot in accountability courts. The way of putting them in jail and letting them get a 3-year probation sentence and turning them loose, a lot of that's not working. Our DA's office can do pretrial diversions, and of course our drug courts help them get jobs. You look at the cost of that, and as far as accountability courts versus traditional adjudication means it's about a quarter of the cost. So it's more cost efficient to do it that way, and our overall goal would be to rehabilitate. That way they're no longer in the revolving cycle and in and out of jail and committing property crimes, things of that nature.
Well, let's dig down a little deeper, which is a little bit different than I normally approach these programs because you've got it all laid out here, and I think it's important to maybe go through. You've got several goals. First goal is a crime suppression unit. What do you envision for that? How would that work?
I'd like to have about a 3 to 4 man team and equip them with a dual purpose canine. What a dual purpose canine is a single purpose dog is just basically narcotics detection. Dual purpose is also fugitive apprehension and search and rescue, things of that nature. So,
are dogs trained to do both?
So some are, yes.
Really?
The dogs I had are trained to do both. We would buy them already trained for the apprehension part, and would get them certified on narcotics. So I've trained 2 dogs on the narcotic detection side. I would want a dual purpose canine. That way, when you do perform a traffic stop, the dog's there ready and available for the officer if he needs it.
It would seem that if there's a drug epidemic in Haralson County, that a canine or a dog would be kind of mandatory, but we haven't had one in forever, apparently.
I'm trying to think. I can't remember the last time that the sheriff's office had a canine. So that is a number one priority of mine, is to have one. Eventually, I'd like to have 2.
Okay. Part of your number 2 goal is to decrease the demand for narcotics, to decrease the demand for drugs in Haralson County. You had started to elaborate on that. I think one of them is a reentry program for to reduce recidivism. So again, kind of a broad brush approach to dealing with a drug epidemic.
It is, and a lot of these people that go to jail, they do have some skills. Unfortunately, they get out and they go back to their normal ways. I like more community involvement on helping some of these people that are actually trying and trying to improve themselves. Getting them out and give them the opportunity to work and be successful and productive members of our society.
When you talk about a cultural change and progress without change is impossible, and with change comes resistance, you also, on your website, reference a good old boy system.
Correct.
You want to elaborate on that?
Well, I'll tell you, when I first said something about running, somebody told me in Tallapoosa, said, "Brian, your only problem is you were born and raised here, but you've always worked in Carroll County, so nobody knows you." And I told them they were correct, but if they flip the coin over, I don't know anybody either. So the good old boy system is we're so-and-so's grandkid or so-and-so, he's a good old boy. I don't get that. I believe in treating everybody fair and treating everybody the same.
Is this a generational problem in Haralson County?
As far as the good old boy system?
The good old boy system, the drug epidemic, it seems like it's gone on so long that, well, mommy, it was good enough for mommy and daddy, it ought to be good enough for me.
Well, you see that a lot, and we were giving out candy a couple years ago at Buck Cannon, and to see some of those children come by, and you can just tell it's neglect. Mm. And I have a problem with that. People steal and neglect their families. I have an issue with that, and hopefully some of those changes we'll talk about in the plan there will reunite the family and get those kids from being neglected as they are now.
Our guest this morning is Brian Finley, candidate for Haralson County Sheriff. We're broadcasting both on WLBB and WKNG. If you've got any questions, please post them to the News Talk 1330 Facebook page, and we'll be back with more after this.
As a graduate of Oak Mountain Academy, I've found that my experience on the mountain prepared me beyond all expectations. As a junior at Auburn University, I approached my studies with great confidence thanks to what I learned at OMA. When I think back on my time on the mountain, I think of my teachers. Their genuine love and concern for me as a student was always evident, and now, as an adult, I still foster those relationships. I'm Carly Robinson, an Oak Mountain Academy alum. Visit oakmountain.us to see how you can offer your child an amazing opportunity to be a warrior.
For more than 70 years, you have turned to Tanner Health System for your healthcare needs. As our community moves forward, Tanner is here for you. Strong, safe, and close to home. Routine medical appointments, urgent elective surgeries, and imaging are back on the calendar at our hospitals and Tanner Medical Group practices. With the safety of our patients, staff, and community always our top priority. Learn more at tanner.org. #WeAreTannerStrong. That's tanner.org. #WeAreTannerStrong.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Raddick, your host. We have Brian Finley in studio, candidate for Haralson County Sheriff in the runoff election, and we're broadcasting both on WLBB and WKNG. On the Facebook page, we have a question from Lisa Lee. The question is, how would you... Wait a minute. Excuse me. She's got two questions. Lisa's throwing me off here. Okay. Well, the second question, let's go with the second question first. So this will be a Lisa Lee doubleheader. How would you handle dope houses? You know, we hear about that. A neighborhood, they identify a house that's, you know, they're selling drugs out of, and we tell law enforcement, but it seems months come and go and nothing is done. And law enforcement will tell you they're building a case against everybody in the house, which, you know, is due process and all that. How do you deal with that neighborhood drug house that seemingly is getting away with their activity?
They're a nuisance, and I get that throughout the whole county. We're good now?
Yeah.
They're a nuisance. Every county I go to, or every road I go to in the county, somebody can about tell me someone on their street who's selling drugs. As far as those complaints go, it's not hard to sit there and do some surveillance on that particular house and generate enough probable cause to do a search warrant on it. A lot of these investigations that take several months to do, you see some of that through trying to build sale cases and things of that nature. The problem with that is most of the time they don't burn their informants, so whatever they get caught with when they make entry into the home is what they're charged with. Mm-hmm. So I'm more for the crime suppression unit addressing those issues. Mm-hmm. It's maybe within a week or two of getting enough probable cause to do a search warrant and then executing it on the home. Okay.
The Lisa Lee doubleheader, how would you like we the people to help you when it comes to crimes?
Again, when I was out politicking, they would tell me of dope houses on the street, things of that's the kind of things that we need to hear. I know people probably get tired of calling and not getting any response. We're going to change that. That's the crime suppression unit is going to handle those complaints and deal with them as they come in. And like I say, I've been on many roads in Haralson County, and about every road can tell me it's going to take time to get there, but we're going to give it our best shot.
Let's circle back around to the K-9 unit. I don't believe there's been over the decades a whole lot of activity in terms of drug interdiction on the interstate. Is that something you would try to implement?
In Haralson County, there's not been any that I know of as far as interdiction goes. It is right now the problem with the sheriff's office is filling the vacant positions that we will have. Unfortunately, in today's time, recruiting is getting kind of hard for us in law enforcement. But once I get those positions filled up, I would like to work on the interstate because I've actually done that and worked drug interdiction. But in order to keep from taking impact on my budget, I'd like to partner with one of the cities or something along that line. That way, when we only have, you need two people out there. When Robbie Bishop was killed, he was out there and searching a car, and, who was shot and killed. So you need two people for safety issues. That way, only one comes out of my budget, and then one's come out of the other, and then you'll just split any asset forfeitures that you make.
Yeah, that was a real tragedy. I actually was covering that story, and I was at the emergency room in Bremen when he was brought there. Yeah. In a horrible, horrible situation. But I understand he was also an inspiration to you.
He was. I can remember when I first started in law enforcement, I was at the old Haralson County Jail, and I was watching a video that Robbie had made, and it was showing his seizures, the drugs and the money. And I thought to myself, I want to do that one day, and then later become sheriff. Well, I was able to do half, and now I'm working on another half of that goal. So that's why maybe a year and a half of my career has been at a sheriff's office because I wanted to meet that goal of being sheriff. And you should know the responsibilities of the job and the different divisions within the sheriff's office.
So much of leadership is, from the top down. I mean, if the citizenry knows that the sheriff is serious about this drug epidemic, then that is, I would think, a large part of the battle.
Drugs and theft is a big problem over there. They go hand in hand. There's a lot more to a sheriff's office than just working drugs and theft.
We have another question, and I'll just kind of rephrase it from Rodney Robinson. Tell us about the jail, the administration of the jail, and what would you change about the jail? We moved, I believe, into the old boot camp now. Correct. So what's your outlook on that?
Well, I want to increase the inmate work detail. So anytime you increase, if they're taking people out and into the community and working, you've also got to increase the security in the jail. And I don't mean by personnel, I mean by random cell searches, quite often, cell searches, strip searches on inmates when they come in from the work detail to make sure they're not bringing contraband in or any type of illegal drug into the jail. Will it happen? It's going to. Anytime you send them out, if they swallow something, we can't get that. But you can always do random jail searches and strip searches of inmates to help improve the safety and security and good general order of the jail. As far as administration goes, there's some things I like to do different as far as even budget-wise with the jail. If we want to get into all that, but I don't know that we'll have the time for budget talk. Mm-hmm. But
how you touched on it, and I think we ought to elaborate on it, to attract and recruit high-quality deputies and to retain high-quality deputies. That's a big deal in this day and time. How do you see yourself doing that, and how can you do it with the budget constraints?
Well, it's my understanding that Sheriff Mixon actually gave them a $2 an hour raise. He fought that battle, which is, I appreciate it. That way I don't have to do it. So their pay now is comparable to close to what Carroll County is paying their deputies. They could use a little bit better equipment, and we've been able to use our drug fund to buy a lot of our equipment. The atmosphere that you create for them, I believe, will help attract some deputies to come work for you. If they know it's a place where they can come out and do their job, the call volume is not quite as high as we have over here, so they'll have a chance to get out and work and do the job and what they want to do. The law enforcement wants to do their job. If they don't, then I'm going to find somebody that does.
If I understand it correctly, you're proposing the creation of a Department of Community Supervision?
No, they already have that.
They have that?
Used to as parole and probation, they merged together in this Department of Community Supervision. What I want to do is improve, and they may have, I don't know, but I want to have a good working relationship. Our ACE unit over here has a great relationship with community supervision. And for the people that's on probation, parole, they can go out and get complaints on them. They can go out with the Department of Community Supervision and search the residents and maybe put a stop to some of those complaints.
We mentioned about drug interdiction on the interstate, but with that you get drug seizures and you get drug cash money, which becomes within your domain, correct?
Correct.
Which can be a real good resource for the things you want to do, whether it's drug education or whatever, or purchase vehicles, et cetera.
It is. The drugs come in, it's no secret, they come up in the southwest border. A lot of times they use I-20 or I-85 going to Atlanta. They come up here in kilos and they come out to our communities in ounces or maybe even pounds and then get dispersed out from there. So with the drugs coming from the southwest border to Atlanta, then the money's going back to the southwest border. That money can be used for equipment purchases, to pay overtime, for surveillance on drug houses, to buy the canines and things of that nature.
But then when you have a canine, you've got to have a dedicated canine officer, don't you?
Correct.
So you'll have to recruit somebody for that.
I've got that recruited.
You got
already.
that taken care of.
All I got to do is get elected first.
Oh, okay. I think I follow that. Okay. I tell you, well, let's jump into this one topic before our next break. Apparently, on the campaign trail and in Haralson County, we hear a lot about high-speed traveling on the roads. People are traveling high rate of speeds, particularly on I-20. Georgia Highway 120, where you got 3 schools along this two-lane state highway. So what do you propose to do about the high rate of high rate of speed of drivers in Haralson County?
I live on Highway 120, and you're correct. There's a high rate of speed throughout the whole county. When I was out going door to door and you're looking for addresses, you'll get hit on some of these back roads. So I will do some traffic enforcement. We have too many high-speed crashes that involve the fire department having to extradite people from the cars. And I'm going to start some of that. I think they may have a couple cars that have radar in them.
But that's state restrictions on that.
On road. Right. You can go in and state highways you can operate. You can go in and have roads permitted, but even if not the radar, with laser, all you have to have is a speed limit sign and a warning sign saying it is checked by speed detection devices.
Randy Goodwin posted a question or a comment, rather. It's good to see that Randy's up and around and kicking still. He says, poverty, crime, and drug use all go together. We are a poor county. That comes back to our first paragraph. I mean, you're talking about a cultural shift in Haralson County, and whether it's poverty, crime, theft, speeding on the highways, all these things, they've added up over time.
It has. You have to look at also where our industries have gone. Used to Tallapoosa and Bremen, they had a lot of industry there. They're no longer available. They've up and left. Some of that stuff I cannot help. I cannot recruit industry. I'm not in the Chamber of Commerce or commissioners. But as far as getting out and doing the job of the sheriff and enforcing our laws, I can do that.
I guess this morning it's Brian Finley. He's in a runoff for the race for Haralson County Sheriff. We're on WLBB and WKNG this morning. We'll be back with more after this.
For more than 70 years, you have turned to Tanner Health System for your healthcare needs. As our community moves forward, Tanner is here for you. Strong, safe, and close to home. Routine medical appointments, urgent elective surgeries, and imaging are back on the calendar at our hospitals and Tanner Medical Group practices. With the safety of our patients, staff, and community always our top priority. Learn more at tanner.org. Hashtag We Are Tanner Strong. That's tanner.org. Hashtag We Are Tanner Strong.
At Oak Mountain Academy, our daily schedule includes convocation, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. By doing so, we build a family-like community where all students grow and flourish and personal faith is encouraged. Through community service and a historical approach to biblical study, our students are taught the value of the warrior way, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Oak Mountain Academy. We are a family creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
Good morning. Welcome back to the Community Voice. I'm Steve Reddick, your host, and getting down with the music. Anyway, Brian Finley, candidate for Haralson County Sheriff, in studio. We're talking about a lot of things related to I kind of themed this morning about, drugs and drug epidemic, et cetera. It seemed like for many years, a couple of decades ago, we used to have DARE officers. We used to have red ribbon campaigns. We used to have Nancy Reagan saying no to drugs. And it just seemed like all that, to me at least, it seemed like all that went away. Where did it go, if it went somewhere? And are you looking to bring that drug education back?
I am. Currently, the Sheriff's Association offers a program that's, I believe it's CHAMPS. But it's target specific. It's toward fifth graders. I want something that's going to start with kindergarten and go through 12th grade. Something that when you're talking to a fifth grader, you can talk different to a 10th, 11th, 12th grader. And those education can vary between what drugs are versus when you get into high school, when you talk about cyberbullying or the dangers of vaping. There's whatever comes up, I want some program that address all of it. Mm-hmm. But starting with the kindergarten or the smaller, having a positive interaction with them, where they're not seeing law enforcement carry mom and dad to jail. They're actually seeing some positive there.
Tell us your position about school resource officers. Do you know how many are currently in Haralson County, and what's your position about that?
Well, I know the school system pays for, I think, 5.
5.
So they don't have 5. So, again, it's about got to fill some positions. With school resource officers, number one job of theirs is the safety and security of that school and the children and the faculty there. My wife is an assistant principal, so it's very important to me that we have secure schools within our county. But also with school resource officers, I said you start that positive interaction with children at a young age. So when they do grow up, it's not just always the cops are bad. Or you go into restaurants and parents will tell the kids, they're going to have them lock you up if you don't behave. And so we get that. And
isn't that about the worst thing a parent could tell a kid?
It is, more like I lock you up.
Yeah, that guy in blue is going to lock you up.
It is bad, because then it starts putting that negative, and
right.
I want to have a positive interaction with them.
Right. And when they become adults, then that education carries on.
It does.
And there's probably no more strong safety item than to have a armed law enforcement officer in a school if there's unfortunately some sort of shooter or incident.
The only way to stop force is with a greater force.
Right. Tell us about, you've already made a pick for your chief deputy. Who is that? Why'd you select this individual?
I made that pick before I ever announced I was going to run for sheriff.
I forgot this is the longest election in American history. Yeah.
Be glad when August 11th is here. But I chose Shane. I've known him. He's also from Tallapoosa, works here at
what's his name? Shane what?
Shane Spradlin.
Shane Spradlin.
He's actually born and raised in Fruithurst, but about 16, 17 years old, he come to Tallapoosa.
I lived in Fruithurst for 4 years. Don't be dissing on Fruithurst.
I try to hold back on that. I have family over that way. So
okay.
But he come over here and lived in Tallapoosa, and then he's come to work at the sheriff's office about the same time I did in 2004 as a deputy. He's currently a sergeant over our, they call it ACE unit. It's aggressive criminal enforcement that's combined between the sheriff's office, the Carrollton Police Department, and the University of West Georgia. I picked Shane because Shane's dedicated and he's a loyal person. They did a press release the other day of, I think, 23, 24, 5 four-wheelers, good many four-wheelers that they recovered. He's one that's going to stay after it till he gets the job done, and that's the type of dedication I want working with me. If they're not that dedicated to my goal, then I don't need them, and that's the reason I chose Shane, because I know he's dedicated, and he'll do what needs to be done to
How many four-wheelers?
It's 23, 4, 5.
Are you kidding?
It's a bunch.
Dang.
It's on that I have to look and see, but it's in the 20s that they recovered, and then it's been a lot of them were done within 10 days, and they steadily got 2 or 3 here and there afterwards.
I'm glad I never bought a four-wheeler. Okay, we're going to run out of time. Tell us, I think it's always important to mention that a sheriff is a constitutional officer, which puts y'all in a special category. I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on that?
If you ask anybody in law enforcement what their job is, they'll tell you to enforce the laws. Really, our number one priority is protect the constitutional rights of the people. As a sheriff has been a constitutional officer, that's what our goal is to protect not only your rights but my rights. It's my rights as well. When you go looking at a sheriff and budget and constitutional, that's another issue there. Mm-hmm. But I think we'll hit on the budget for a second, because I think it's important that a sheriff partake in budget meeting with commissioners. So at the end of the day, it is a business, and it should be operated like a business. Okay.
You're knocking door to door. You come upon my door, and I say, man, I'm tired. I don't want to, I'm not interested, but I'll give you 60 seconds. Why should I vote for Brian Finley?
A lot of the reasons I've talked here today I've been in law at a sheriff's office for many years now. I've worked every division within a sheriff's office. My goal in Haralson County is that's my home. Carroll County and Sheriff Langley has been great to me. He's probably, to me, one of the best sheriffs in the state of Georgia. But it's time to bring some of that knowledge and education back home that they have provided me with here in Carroll County, and then implement it in Haralson County and try to make our county better. So that's why I would ask people to vote for me. And early voting does start Monday at the courthouse, and it runs till I think August the 7th, and then election day at the precinct is August 11th.
Okay, our guest this morning has been Brian Finley, candidate for Haralson County Sheriff, both on WLBB and WKNG. We're thankful to our sponsors, Oak Mountain Academy and Tanner Health System. Appreciate you listening. Go out and make it a great day. You're in tune to WLBB Carrollton, WKNG Tallapoosa.